Hello, right, welcome to this episode in this series where I recreate classic tracks on the Deluge. Obviously, I'm just doing it on the Deluge for now. You can use the stuff from I go through in this video and recreate it on anything, whether it's Ableton Live, Logic or whatever, because most of it's just sort of going through the notes. For my Patreon subscribers, I will, as I've done with the others, I will put the my Deluge song file with all the samples, etc., up on my Patreon account. If you've not got a Deluge, actually, it's probably still worth getting hold of that because there are some samples that you can get from there. I'll try as well if people want me to do it and they are willing to subscribe to my Patreon account. I can always put some MIDI files up there as well with the drum parts, etc. on. Let me just adjust my microphone. Right, so let's get stuck into it. I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. This one's going to be quite talky. I occasionally get people who moan that my videos are too talky. Well, if you don't like talky videos, don't watch them. It's the simple thing. Don't moan about it. This is what I do. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Simple. All right? Don't waste your time, half an hour, then moan about you not liking how much I talk. So I'm talking too much already. But anyway, here we go. So let's give you just kind of a quick demo of what I've got, sort of what it sounds like. I'll also talk a little bit about how I perform this live. So we've got the intro bit. So we've got the old Loonbird sample and the chords. Actually, I've just realised I've not sort of said what song I'm doing. An idiot. Right, I'm doing. I'm gonna call it Pacific State, right, by 808 State, because there's so many versions of it. There's Pacific 707 and 808 and 202 and God knows what else. Gonna call it Pacific State. So yeah, I guess should have said that at the beginning, but hey ho. Right, we go from that into this like little glissando thing going down the keyboard, and then we've got this main section here, which is like the main body of the song. Different drum pattern in here. Okay, a bit more percussion stuff. Then we've got the next section, which is this bit down here. Okay, and so on. So let's just go through each bit and then I'll kind of just talk through a little bit about how I perform it live. So this first section, we've got the pads. So it's a 1 bar. No, it's not. It's 4 bars. I think it's 4. Yeah, 4 bars. I think everything in this is a 4-bar loop. Okay, so in terms of the notes that we've got this chord, which is F, A, and C, and also we've got 4 notes and an E up at the top. So we've got 4 notes in each one. Second bar is F sharp, D, B, and what have we got down at the bottom? G. Next one, we're down to E, G, B, and I've only got starting at the bottom. Sorry, we've got C, E, that G, and then up to the B, and then the fourth one go from top to bottom. We've got C sharp, A, F sharp, not F sharp, yep, and the D3 there. So that gives us those 4 notes. In terms of synth, I'm using an internal synth, one I've written. Using just oscillator 1 by the looks of it, so at 46. I've transposed it down an octave. And it's the analog square wave I'm using, so fairly basic kind of setting. We've got the pulse width just set to 18. I don't know why. It's ages ago I did this, so it is what it is. On the filter, we've got the cut off just taking the top end off a little bit, so that's on 34. There's no resonance or anything on there, and as far as I'm aware, there's no filter envelopes going off, so it's just a fairly basic just pad sound. But you know, it kind of does the job, and it works. So that's that part, and that carries on into the next section. We've then got the classic sample, which, if I remember rightly, again it's ages ago I did this, came off the emulator, I believe, sample pack. It's a sample of a Loonbird, and this is actually the original sample. If you go on YouTube, you can get like versions of the original sample pack, and I've just got that, and I've just sort of pitched it wherever it is, so it's in the key of the song. So we're going from G sharp up to B flat. So the sample for that will be in this pack if you download it, if you subscribe to my Patreon. So that's just a 1-bar loop, I think. Yep. Oh no, it's a 2-bar loop. So they're going to the first bar. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Yep. So they're just positioned on beat 1 and the and of beat 2, those 2 notes. So they play through a few times. We then go into this section, which is just this like little thing going down, which is, again, it's 1 bar long, but I've done it just as 30-second notes. Excuse me, and I'm just basically going down, a 30-second note going down from G sharp 4 all the way down to G2. Actually, no, it goes beyond that. Sorry, no, it doesn't. It goes all the way down to D sharp. So that kind of finishes on that 3rd beat there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, on the 4th beat. Okay, so it's like a 1-bar thing, 4 beats, finishes on beat 4. We then go into the main bit of the song. What I've done is I've got this kind of launching sections. So I start with the blue section. I'll launch the yellow section and then go straight into the pink, which is the main kind of body of the song going straight in. So the first 2 tracks are just a copy of these 2. So that's the pad and that's the Loon Bird sample bit. So if we come into this one, let's just solo that one out. So this is the main bass line. No, it's not. It's the main drum part, sorry. So I'm using the 909 kit to keep it authentic. It's a 4-bar loop, but basically it's the first 3 bars are the same. There's just a slight variation on the 4th bar on the bass line. So we've got kick drum on basically 4 to the full orbits, 1, 2, 3, and then we got 2/16 on beat 4. Okay, snare on 2 and 4. We've got 16ths on the hi-hat with an open on the and of 2. Well, I'm not quite sure why I did that on the ride, but we've kind of got this ride pattern as well on the ands, and then so you got it on the 3rd 16th note there, 3rd 16th there, 2nd and 4th and 3rd there. Okay, and then we've got a clap on 2 and 4 as well, and a random open hi-hat there. I can't quite remember why, like I keep saying, I did this ages ago. Now you'll notice there is some swing on this as well. Swing is on 58, 59. Okay, so first bar, second bar is the same. Third bar is the same. On the 4th bar, we just get this variation on the bass drum. So rather than doing those 2 there, we're doing the last 16th on beat 3 and the second one there on beat 4. So 4-bar loop just with those that variation on the 4th bar. The next drum pattern is still the 909. This is the other kind of like little drum fill sort of thing. Okay, so again it's a 4-bar loop. First 3 bars are the same. We've got just the bass drum variation on the last bit. So we're keeping the same bass drum from the previous pattern. We're keeping these the same, I believe. Okay, and all we're doing is these claps and the snare bits together, which I've just muted. So they go on the clap. Is on the last, starting on the last 16th note of beat 2, and then you've got 4/16 there, gap, 1 gap. I mean, you can see what I'm putting on here. And then the same thing. Basically, the snare is following exactly the same thing as the clap, and that does that for those 3 bars, let's say. And then the last bar, it's just that different bass drum variation. So the easiest way to do that is once you program the first pattern in, just copy that down, put those snare bits in, and you're good to go. We then got the main bass line. Okay, which is quite a complex sort of bass line, really. It's a 4-bar pattern. Sound I'm using, again, I just created this. So I'm using both oscillators at 50%, at 50 volume, sorry, not 50%. I've obviously just transposed oscillator 2 up to 0.11 just to give it a bit of detune. We're on analog saw on oscillator 1, analog square on oscillator 2. And then pretty much straightforward after that. On the filter, so again, low pass filter, we're sort of at 28, we're about halfway on the filter, but then we've got a fairly high resonance which gives it that that kind of almost sort of vocal sound. And as far as I'm aware, that's it. Again, didn't use any envelopes on that. But what I do with the bass is, I'll talk about that in a second. Let's just go through the notes first. So again, it's a 4-bar loop. So here is our first bar. So there's one off screen off here. So we're starting off down here on D1. So are we in 16th notes? Yes. So second, third, 16th note is on D1. Fourth, 16th note is on F. We've got, I believe, then a gap there on beat 2. So the second 16th note of beat 2 is G. We go down to D, and then we're going all the way up on the last 16th note of beat 2 to C. We've got a gap then until the third 16th note of 3, which is a D, and then we're coming back down on beat 4, G sharp, G1, down to D1, and up to F1. Okay, so that's your first bar. Second bar, similar-ish, but a bit more simplified. So again, we're starting off down on D. We've got a D, I believe a gap there, yep. G1, A1, then we've got 2 more Ds, another gap, so on to beat 3, second 16th note of beat 3, F1, D1, another gap, and then G1, D1, third bar. Okay, we're starting off up here. Again, got another gap here. We've got a G sharp, G, and F. And I've noticed actually I'm not in scale mode because I probably couldn't work out what scale it was in. But anyway, we've got 3 Ds down the bottom. On there, last one on beat 2 is a G. And then we're going, little gap there of 2/16ths, going on the third 16th to beat 3, A1. More Ds down the bottom. And then the fourth bar. Again, starting off down on D. Going up to another G. Where are we? And then we're going right up again to C2, a D2, and then we come in G sharp, G, F sharp, and then we finish on another G at the end. Oh no, we've got a couple of Ds in there as well. Okay, so we've got a couple of Ds there, and then finish on that G. So you might just need to go through that bit a few times to fully get your head around it. But obviously, if you subscribe to my Patreon, you've got that there anyway. What I do with the bass then, I copied that down, and that's playing on MIDI channel 3, which is sending the MIDI out to my Roland TP-03. So I kind of layer those two up. So this is just me changing the controls over on the 303, just to give it a little bit more acidness, because I like a lot of acidness, as you probably know if you watched any of my videos. So that's basically the main section of that playing. And then I can switch between these two bits here, these two different drum patterns. Okay, now over the top of that, obviously we've got the classic kind of the lead line, the saxophone kind of thing, which I've got in here. So I've just basically sampled. I think if I remember rightly, I just created a saxophone kind of sound, or I got one in Ableton Live. Just exported that as an audio file. So you got them all in there. And what I actually do when I play those live is I've got these mapped to pads on, if I just whiz the camera over here, somewhere, here. Okay, I've got these mapped. to these pads. Okay, so that is how I would perform that live. Let me reposition my camera. I've stuffed it all up totally. All right, apologies for that rather unprofessional bit of camera work. So that's the main lead line. These are kind of just sitting in this folder, this track down at the bottom, because I don't use this for live. We've also got actually on this track. Let me get rid of that other percussion up there. We've got this other. We've got this other lead line. Again, if I remember rightly, I created, these are just WAV files I've exported from Ableton Live. I just created that sound in Ableton Live, and again, I play that bit over on the drum pads, which would go like this. No. Okay, so when that bit's all playing, sorry, just whacked the camera again, which goes over the top of this section, we get. Okay, so that's just like another one of the elements in the track. We've then got this sort of second section, which does this. So if we just go through these, the sections on this. This is just an audio track. Actually, randomly I've got it sat in the middle. That is just routing the audio from my TB-03 into the Deluge, so that's why that is there. So we start off with the drum pattern. Which I believe is exactly the same as the one previously. Okay, so I don't think there's anything different in that. That's the same one. So the main difference is the bass part, which is just a 1-bar loop, but it's kind of a much busier bass line. It's kind of just getting this up and down kind of thing going. Same bass sound as before. Okay, so we've got a slightly longer note on the first one. I'm in 16th note resolution, but it's kind of based around this D going all the way through. So we've got a longer note, and then we're going F, and then back down to D, and then G, back down to D, G sharp, back down to D, and then we're going up to A, and then basically coming back down. Yeah. So it's this. Okay, the bass is just playing that. We get that longer note on that first one, and then that bit on the end there. And then all I've done again, same as before, I put it on the 303, or the 03. Okay, we've got another bit of percussion. Okay, which is this bit. Okay, again, 4-bar loop. On whatever kit this is. I think I just made this up with different sounds. So we've got kind of an go-go bell, which is doing those two. We've got like a conga kind of thing, a higher one, and then the shuffle, the kind of shape. So let's go through those parts. So we can see this one here. We've got first 16th note there, third one on the higher one. It's basically kind of, you got note, miss one, 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 and so on. So this bit there, the conga thing. So it's just 1, 2, and 3. This is kind of interacting with that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the shuffle on the 1 and 2 and 3 and there's just some slight variations then. We've got an extra bit there on that third beat. Okay, so there's your first bar. So I'll leave that on there. You can have a look at that and kind of program those bits in. There's your second bar, if you want to pause the video and kind of program those bits in. There's your third bar. And there's your fourth bar. But again, obviously, if you get in the pack, then you won't need to know all of that. And on this section, we also then kind of place this bit. I bring this long pad sound in, which is just, again, one of my own sounds. It's one I've got called Epic Pad. Both oscillators. Oscillator 2 transposed down an octave. We've got analog saw on oscillator 1. Actually on both. No pulse width. And then tiny bit of resonance at 7 and the filter cutoff at 34. And it looks like we've got that mapped into envelope 2 as well at -6. And our envelope 2 has attack of 0. So we've just got sustain at 47 and a release at 44. And the amp envelope is attack 46. So it's got a kind of a nice long attack. Zero decay, sustain pretty much at full, and release at 24. But again, all of these will be in the pack should you wish to subscribe to get them. And that really is kind of pretty much it. What I generally do with this song is I've taken them off this for now, but I kind of have elements of the next song that coming in because I mix into another song when I'm performing it live. So they may, if you get some random stuff at the bottom of your file, if you download it on Patreon, then that's what it is. So yeah, let's give it a little performance. This is where I'll get done for copyright. I normally do this on the drums, but I'll play it on here. So. Then we get this. Hold on, let's turn them up. And when I'm performing it live, I'll kind of like be doing the, changing the stuff on the 303. And then we go to this section. We bring that pad in. And then from here, what I'll do is I'll go back to the main section with and so on. When I go to the end, actually, I mean, a good way of finishing it is doing this. Dropping out the bass. And then what I do is I kind of sort of mix into the next track. So that's kind of how I perform it live. But like I say, I play those and the off the drum pads. It gives it a little bit more of a performance aspect to it then, with kind of the drumming thing going along. So that is how I recreated Pacific State, Pacific 808, Pacific 707, whatever you want to call it, on the Deluge. So as mentioned previously, if you want to subscribe to my Patreon account, $3.50 a month, you will get loads of free stuff, and you will have access to my full Deluge song file with all the samples in there as well. If you just want to get hold of the samples and you're not a Deluge user, obviously you can still download that, and the samples will be there in the folder. All the other usual things, please like, subscribe, share the videos around. Any suggestions for future videos, then give me a shout and I will do those. And obviously I'll try and do a few more of these recreating classic tracks as well as I proceed forward. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.